Hello everybody, it's Tall23 back in another video. This is another French video, the second video in the series of me teaching French. In the last video I discussed the names of the letters of the alphabet in French and all the accents in French. Today I'm going to be discussing the subject pronouns as well as the four most commonly used verbs in French. All of these are irregular verbs, and I'll explain what that means later. And I'll also explain some things with pronunciation and things like that as I go on. So, here I have a list of at the top, from je, right here, je to il and elle. These are the subject pronouns. Je, and I'm going to translate these for you, okay? Je basically means I. Tu means you, and that's singular. Okay, so you singular, or thou, I guess you could say. Il means he, so it's masculine, third person. So basically, to describe this is first person singular. Je is first person singular. Tu is second person singular. Il, elle, and on are third person singular. Il is masculine, so you use it when referring to a masculine object or to a male. Elle is feminine, so you use it when referring to a female or a feminine object. Or there's also on, which is just means one, like just hypothetical. It's not anything specific. It's just one would do this or whatever. Nous means we, so it's the second, or it's the first person plural. Vous is second person plural, means you plural, so multiple people, you guys, things like that. Il and elle, and that's how it's pronounced. You don't say the S on the end. Okay, il and elle means they. So again, you have masculine and feminine. And that's something that you need to know about pronouncing French. You do not pronounce consonants when they're on the end of words. Now, there are a few exceptions, but for the most part, most words in French, you do not say the consonant, you do not pronounce it when it's at the end of a word. So it's not nous, it's nous. It's not vous, it's vous. And it's not ils or elles, it's il and elle. Okay, it's pronounced the same way as this. The only exception is when it comes before a word that begins with a noun. So if you're, and I think there's some examples, yeah. As I go on to explain the conjugated verbs, you'll see some examples. So I just want to go over these four verbs. They are all irregular, which means they're not conjugated in the regular way for how they are spelled. And as you'll see in the next video, there is a specific set of endings that you're supposed to use for the different verbs. When they're different for the ER verbs, the IR verbs, and the RE verbs, depending on what they end with. So avoir, even though it ends with an IR, is not conjugated in the regular IR way, so it's an irregular verb. The first would be the first person singular is j'ai, okay? And because a, that's the conjugation for avoir, and by the way, avoir means to have, j'ai, because a begins with an A, you have to replace the E with an apostrophe or l'apostrophe, okay? So it's j'ai, it's just j'ai, not je ai, it's j'ai. And that just means I have. Next is tu as. Okay, again, you don't pronounce the S on the end. That means you have. Okay? Second person singular, you, as in one person. Il, and I just wrote il, but it could be elle and on as well. Il a just means he has, or she has, if it's elle a. Next is an example of when you would pronounce the S at the end. Okay, nous avons, because there is a vowel at the beginning of avons. It's avons, so you pronounce nous as nous avons, but you still don't pronounce the S at the end. The next, and that just means we have. Next is vous avez. Again, same thing with the S at the end and the vowel at the beginning of the actual conjugated verb. Vous avez, that means you, plural. This is a second person plural. you have. Next would be, and again you would say ils ont or elles ont, because there is an S at the end and there is a vowel at the beginning. So ils ont. Next is être, and these two are a lot more commonly used than these two. You cannot learn the French language without knowing these verbs, so you have to get these hammered into your heads as conjugations, okay? So make sure you pay attention, because if you want to learn the French language, because this is these verbs are very and even in the English language, in any language, the verbs for to have and to be are very important. Être, okay, être just means to be, and you would conjugate it. Again, it's irregular, so je suis means I am. Okay, you don't say wouldn't translate it as I be, because that makes no grammatical sense in English. But it's je suis. That means I am. The second person singular would be tu es. Okay, that means you are. Il est or elle est. It means he is or she is, or it could be on est, would be one is, or any other proper name. You could replace, again, this is third person, so whenever you're speaking in the third person, this is the conjugation you'd use. So you could replace the name like Bob. Bob is, that would be Bob est, because you're not gonna speak, if it's your name, you're not gonna say it like, I'm not gonna say Alexander is, because that's who I am. And if I'm speaking to somebody, I'm not gonna use their name and say you. I'm going to say you, not that name is or anything like that. So that doesn't make any sense. But the first person plural would be nous sommes. Second person plural is vous êtes. And again, because there's an E, you would pronounce it as vous êtes and not just vous êtes. Okay, here you have an example of a circumflex as well. And that's also on être. Next is ils sont or elles sont. That just means they are. So you have je suis, I am, tu es, you are, il est, he is, or elle est, she is, nous sommes, we are, vous êtes, you are, you plural, and ils sont, they are, and elles sont, they are. Again, it depends on whether it's masculine or feminine. So those are the two most important verbs, avoir and être. Okay, let me go over it again. J'ai, tu as, il a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont. And then for être, which means to be, je suis, tu es, il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont. Next to the next two verbs, okay? First would be faire. Okay, faire means to do or to make. And again, it's irregular. You conjugate it as je fais, tu fais, il fait, and remember, because you don't pronounce the consonant on the end of the word, they sound the same even though they're spelled differently. If you speak it, people know what you're talking about because they're saying il fait and you're not saying tu fais, so they know that you mean he does, or he makes, or he is making, or he is doing. Nous faisons, vous faites, and the final is ils font or elles font. All these mean to make. So I make or I do. I'm just going to say do. I do, you do, he does, we do, you do, they do. Next is aller. Aller means to go. Okay, and this one is a lot different. You can just tell. I mean, where does the V come from? It's strange, but it's je vais. Okay, je vais means I am going. Tu vas, and I accidentally wrote vais, but I crossed that out. It's actually tu vas, V-A-S. Tu vas means you are going. Il va, he is going, or elle va, she is going. Nous allons, remember to pronounce the S because there's the vowel. Nous allons means we are going. Vous allez means you, plural, are going. and ils vont and elles vont. So those are the conjugations for the four most common verbs, and there are a lot of other verbs which are irregular. There are a lot of them. Okay, dormir or pouvoir, vouloir, mettre, prendre, and there's a lot of other ones. Okay, but these are the four main verbs which are going to hear in French, and you're going to use them a lot. Okay, I use them a lot when I'm studying French. So just going over it one final time, and I'm going to hold it up the entire time so you can see the four verbs, okay, and also the subject pronouns. Hope, just get in focus. I gotta, okay. Avoir, to have. J'ai, tu as. Il a, nous avons, vous avez. Ils ont, elles ont. Être, to be. Je suis, tu es. Il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, elles sont. Faire, to do and to make. Je fais, tu fais. Il or elle fait. Nous faisons, vous faites. Ils or elles font. Aller, to go. Je fais, tu vas, il va. Nous allons, vous allez. Ils vont, elles vont. So those are the conjugations, which means this is how you're supposed to write it. So whenever you're going to say I am, you don't just say je être. Even though je means I, you don't say je être, you say je suis. So je suis Alexander. Okay? Or if you say I am from this city, I'm from New York, you'd say je suis de New York. Okay? That's I am. The only time when you use an infinitive, and the infinitive is just the unconjugated verb. So avoir, être, faire, and aller is an infinitive verb. And you'd use those only if there's no subject pronoun. So if you're saying, I'm trying to think of an example, if you're going to say, he is going to do this, okay? He's going to do this. You would say, actually, that I think that would be future tense. So I'm not going to get into that. But just in his, he is going. Yeah, he is going, as in he is going right now, going somewhere to do this. You would say, je vais. He is going. Okay, to do. Je vais faire. Okay, je vais faire. He is going to do this. So that's the only time when you use the infinitive. There's no actual subject pronoun. So if it's I am going to do this, or he is going to do this, or I am. I think I said he's going to do this, and I said je. That's I. Okay, I made a little mistake there, but that's the only time you use the infinitive. Otherwise, you would conjugate it. If you have to translate it as I, you, he, she, we, you plural, or they, then you would always use the conjugated verb. And there are different conjugations for different tenses: past tense, future tense, conditional. Actually, there's imperfect past and passé composé. So those are the things we're going to go over in the future after I get through the basics. So that's not something we're going to discuss right now. So thank you everybody for watching. That's basically just the basics. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying, because I'm trying to explain this the best I can. I'm not the best teacher out there of French, but these are the things that are important for you to know if you want to learn French. So thank you everybody for watching, and goodbye.